Moin! And welcome to the Link's Christmas special! This is not only going to be a special because of the doll, but also because of the fact that this is a collaboration between the two awesome girls from Enchanterium and me. It's the first collab I ever participated and I was so excited. We were chatting a little and decided really quick on the topic, what does it need to be a perfect Christmas? So we went out and talked to our friends and families what they wish for the perfect Christmas to collect some ideas. I was really happy that we ended up doing such different Christmas dolls, so you guys can see two very different projects. So make sure you check out the beautiful doll of Enchanterium after you watched my video. I will link that channel in the description. With that, we can start with my project. Like I said, I talked to my friends and family, and besides cookies, a tree or presents, many people wished for a white Christmas, me included. Where I live, it's all foggy and rainy most of the time, so that it's hard to get in Christmas mood. I personally love the winter, with snow and ice, and so I thought a snow-themed doll would be perfect. As a base, I chose this doll. I think she's called Goya or so, but I'm not sure. Her legs are a bit damaged and she has loose hip joints, but that's okay, because I remove the legs either way. I can tell you that this doll is going through the most extreme changes I ever made, and I'm really excited. But enough talking, let's finally start. I removed her head, hair and factory paint like always to start the project with a clean base. This time I made myself an exact plan when to do what, because she'll go through drastic changes and some things are very experimental for me, as always. I started with modding the head by removing her human ears. You might know that I really like animal parts on a character, and for Christmas it was clear that it had to be a deer or reindeer character. So, next thing to do was to sketch where the antlers will be and open the head to be able to insert the eyes later. Yes, she also gets some insert eyes, because I love that. After opening the head, it was time to open the eyes. I basically did this the same way as I did it on Patty, but I'm planning to make some explaining videos about these things soon. After that, it was time to create the base for the antlers and ears with wire. I used some strong wire and hot glue as a base for the epoxy. Looks already pretty good. I love how she's turning out. Now time for my beloved epoxy. Mixing the two parts together and placing it on the wire. After 24 hours, it was dry and ready to sand down a little. I then removed the parts so they won't get damaged during the rerouting process. At this point I realized that I could have made them out of polymer clay instead of epoxy. That would have been a little lighter, but okay, never stop learning. Before rerouting, I gave the head a first layer of acrylic paint because, yes, we're also going to change her skin color. Lots of new things again, I love it. I did the rerouting with light blue acrylic yarn to match the ice and snow theme. If you want to know how I did this, you can watch Patty's video or wait for the How I Do Things video about yarn reroute. For now, I'll just show you how I made the yarn a little silkier. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I experimented a little with that, and here you have my solution for now. We start with our hair after brushing out the yarn and flat iron it. Now I just take an ordinary fabric softener from no specific brand. I pour it into a bowl and let the yarn soak in for 10 minutes. Very carefully to not mess up the hair too much. After that, I wash it out a bit and dry it with a kitchen paper. Looks pretty bad now and you need to be careful to not destroy the fiber, but it will look good in the end. Take a strand of hair and brush it really carefully. Then take your flat iron and, well, flat iron it. Do this with the whole head and brush the result once again. The roots may look a little thin at this point, but wait for them to dry completely and they will look fine. So here you have your silky beautiful yarn hair. I know that many people prefer nylon hair, but for me there is nothing better than yarn. It looks beautiful, I can buy it everywhere, it's cheap and super easy to style. Now that we gave all the attention to the head, the body needs some too. I removed her legs, what was much harder than I thought, but it worked in the end. Then I sanded the body with a sandpaper sponge and started to remove her neck. I want her to look very fantasy-like and majestic, so she needs a longer neck. I took some wires and hot glued them between the two pieces as an extra support. After that, I of course used my epoxy to close the gap. Smoothing it out with my nail art tools and water, and ready! After the epoxy dried, I painted the body in white. The paint worked much better on the body than on the head, as you can see. Now it was time to put her head back on, because I also want to modify her face a little more, and putting the head back on after the epoxy may cause cracking. Therefore I did it before. Haha, clever me! Not. I then realized that I forgot about the mods on her hips and butt. But at this point I didn't want to remove the head again, because I was afraid I would scratch the paint too much. So I did it with the head on. First I made a little hole in her back and hot glued a wire inside to attach a little tail later on. I also added some glue on her butt and hips to thicken them. After that, it was again time for the epoxy. I started with her face and gave her a more animal-like nose and forehead. Moving on to her hips, I of course added epoxy there too. When everything was dry, it was time for an experiment again. I tried to reduce the use of Mr. Super Clear because of its toxicity, so I tested the matte medium and matte varnish from Liquitex on this doll. Every time I need to put down color, I brushed the medium on the doll, like you can see here. And then it was finally time for the most intense part of this customization, the legs. I planned on doing them out of polymer clay around a base of aluminium foil that I can remove later, so that I can string an elastic band through them. Good plan, but that didn't work. I just wasn't able to remove the foil from the inside. Sad, sad, sad. So I started new and made the parts all separated by placing the clay around a wooden stick. Lucky me, that worked much better. The following days were all sanding and carving them. That was much work. Here you can see one leg when I started defining the shape and when it's finished. It still looks very rough, but for my first try I was really proud. After all that crafting, I felt like drawing a little, so I started with a face up. Like I said, I wanted to get rid of MSC, so I tried the Liquitex matte medium first, but it was really sticky and I wasn't able to erase anything. Maybe it wasn't dry enough or something? Whatever it was, I will not give up and try again next time. But for now, I returned to MSC and started blushing her forehead to have a smoother transition from her hair color to skin color. I only used different shades of blue on this doll to keep the icy look, and I'm really happy with the result. I also added some white dots on the blue forehead to emphasize the deer in her design a little more. And of course, I gave her a cute animal nose. Not to forget the body blushing, and it's done! I sealed it all with the last layer of MSC and then decided to go over everything with a coat of Liquitex matte varnish. And this was the best idea ever. With MSC there's always this roughness, what is great for drawing on, but not for touching her after she's done. And the Liquitex varnish gave her this smooth surface that feels really professional. I wish I could show you. And it stayed matte. Just like I said, best idea ever! The face up is always really quick when there are no eyes to be drawn on, but speaking of eyes, she needs some! I made the bases out of polymer clay and created 2 different sizes, because I wasn't completely sure which one would fit better. I ended up using the bigger ones. As always, I started with coloring the iris with a very dark color, because the outermost circle is always darker than the actual eye color. For the main color, I used a shiny nail polish that you can also see on my finger. As a little extra, I added a little glitter and of course a pupil, because I don't like eyes without one. When that all was dry, I moved on to the UV resin. I ordered a new one because the one I had stayed sticky no matter what. Moreover, this one came in this bottle, so I can pour it directly on the eyes. Very comfortable. And after 4 minutes under the UV lamp, the eyes were ready to place inside the head. I can tell you that was a struggle. I had to make the hole in the head a little smaller than usual because of the antlers, so it was hard to reach the eye holes. But I somehow managed it after many trial and errors. I learned that it's the best to first place the epoxy around one eye and insert it after that. Sorry I went out of camera, but like I said, it was such a struggle. But totally worth it in my opinion. Okay, upper body is ready, let's move on to the lower body. The moment of truth, the stringing. I made several notes in one end and just threaded all the pieces on. One leg up through the body and the other leg down. It worked! But they are not exactly what you would call the most beautiful legs in the world, so I had to hide them a little bit under a lot of fur. Of course, out of yarn. So I grabbed my PVA glue and glued and waited and glued and waited and glued and waited and so on. I also gave a little fur to her chest and I'm really happy with the outcome. We're close to finish her, but she needs her ears and antlers back, so let's do this! First I widened the holes again and tested if they go back in. I then took my strong glue and placed a little on the doll. For fixation on the inside, I took my hot glue gun and dropped some glue inside the head, where the wires poke through the plastic. Gluing the head cap back on and styling her hair, and she's done! I am so in love with her! One of the best things about her is that she can stand alone. No doll stand needed. I was so happy when I tried it. That really was the most intense customization I've ever made, but I'm so happy I did it. Her name will be Venora, what means white wave, and she has of course a little story. Her story will take place in the same universe Patty lives in. If you didn't see the video, it's a world with 2 kingdoms separated by a huge magic wall. One kingdom is called Ebon and is the one without magic where the humans live. The other one is called Enchanterium and is inhabited by many different magical species. So, now that you all know what I'm talking about, let's start with her story. In ancient times, when the war was new and the hate between Ebon and Enchanterium was deep, there was a winter so cold and brutal that surviving was a challenge. The people in both kingdoms were hungry and desperate, but instead of helping each other, everyone fought for themselves. But then Christmas Eve came, an important time for the humans, and even though it was a hard time they lived in, everyone wanted to celebrate. It came that the storm that now raged for weeks turned into a light snow that covered the lands in a peaceful white. It was like a miracle, and the feeling of safety and security warmed the human hearts. But then the actual miracle happened. Some people with a very kind character took their few things and went to the wall. Many people followed, and soon it was crowded with humans singing Christmas carols and sharing the food they had. The sounds attracted the people of Enchanterium, and even though they never heard of Christmas before, they started celebrating with the humans. Everyone still stayed on their side of the magic wall, but they could see and hear each other, sharing foods and singing songs. At this evening, there was no war between the two kingdoms, only love, joy, and sympathy. Out of this kindness, a spirit was born, high up the mountains of Enchanterium. A spirit of ice and snow with a heart full of love. The legend says, if you're lucky enough to see such a spirit, it means luck for your journey. That was Venora's little story. I hope you liked it. And don't forget to check out the doll from Enchanterium. Here you can already see a little first impression. Their attempt on a Christmas doll was a more classic gold and red theme, what is absolutely gorgeous if you ask me. So, if you're interested in how they made this beauty, go check out their Christmas video and leave a like or a comment. I would of course be really happy if you also leave a like or comment on my video. I wish you all a wonderful Christmas and I hope I could bring you some joy with this video. Thank you so much for your support. See you soon. Tschüss!